Alright, gang, we return once again to our city of Gloomrot, situated here within the Shadowfell. Your quest for a celestial object having fallen from the sky right before you. As always, we will kick off the session in the same way. Give us a recap. Go ahead and recap for us anything you guys can regarding the party's current quest, our current situation, and anything else that you think is relevant to our plot as it currently stands. It need not be exclusively from last session. As always, inspiration is on the table for anyone who contributes something salient to this discussion. So with that, let's kick things off.
Does anything I said earlier count?
We didn't have the stream running earlier, so go ahead and give us a recap if you can.
Everyone thinks I'm a gremlin. I gave up a tooth to a weird, freaky bug man who ate it. I was called dirty and smelly by the glass looker man. And then, we also got beat up by a bunch of doppelgangers. We came back covered in blood, not all of it our own. And I tried to give some of it to Arya because it was purple goop like her magic stuff, her magic goop.
Accurately said. What was your purpose going out within the city of Gloomrot, wandering its labyrinthine streets, and risking so much danger?
And sell goods.
Selling goods indeed. And for what purpose?
Money, so we can buy more goods. But also the main purpose being that Tarek wanted to talk to Raziel, but then he decided Raziel was too much of a freak when after Raziel got grabbed by the bug man and gave their tooth up.
I'm not sure how the mysterious figure that was shrouded in cloth with its long bony claw came to be known as the bug man, but he shall be now and forevermore, it seems. Very well said, Raziel.
Sorry, that's just how I envisioned him. Claws, carapace. I figured he was probably like segmented, like the arms. Like I don't know why that's just what my brain thought when you described him.
Let me just make some modifications to a stat block, but go ahead and take inspiration. That's a good way to start this off. What else, guys? What's been going
on? We started off last session with the party about to go out, and Tarek, with his almighty powerful intuition, he thought it would be wise to take a couple trips. One to sell all the stuff, return, and then go out upon fully being ready. Arya had some things to do in the temple. I had to prepare my sacred Malvine. It should take him about an hour to get back. It should take me about an hour to get ready. She went to the halls of I'm probably going to butcher this. Halls of convalescence. The halls of basically the Sharites can have whatever pleasure they want as long as they don't fall asleep, because sleep equals death.
You butchered it so hard, you actually removed the noun from my mind, and I had to look it up in my own notes. It's the sanctioned convergence that you're speaking of.
Sanctioned convergence. Okay. Gosh, I need to put that somewhere in the notes. Anyway, sanctioned convergence, where Arya meets with the quartermaster, and this meeting with the quartermaster allows her to get some general information, acquire a more potent stimulant in the form of some powdered nightshade, as well as her ingredients for performing the ritual that was totally thought up on the fly. Yes. After which, she spent some time waiting. Little did she know there was a bunch of things happening through the perspective of Tarek and her and his buddies. You know, I don't think I feel justified in saying everything I remember, but after they came back all battered and bruised, as Arya's about to literally storm out, it's like, what the fuck is going on out there? Oh, they're back. And they're injured. And they want to rest the night. We've been told that time is of the... I don't even care anymore. After which, Arya decided to take some time to meet up with Willowswitch and try to confide in her a little bit. Show how she's been weak and struggling to forget these memories. In that moment, though, she has gotten something that she did not expect. Hatred. from Willow Switch. Something that poor Arya does not fully understand. And Arya tried her best to just like ask for advice. What do I do if these memories pull and I can't stop them? Just hatred. There's not much that she remembers of that particular event, but Arya, taking some time to cast her ritual to give herself some privacy, cried into a pillow before having a nightmare about that empty casket. She was told, you should look away, child, look away. You shouldn't have to see this. But she didn't look away, and she saw herself getting lowered into that empty casket. And then she woke up in a cold sweat. But yeah, that's what I remember from Arya's perspective.
Very accurately summarized. Go ahead and take inspiration. What else, guys? What do we expect to find within the skins? What is our purpose for traveling there? What preparations
Celestial.
have we made?
Eric and Panda's turn.
I'm trying to think.
Is Tarek with us? Tarek,
What?
you remember what happened last week? Come on.
I'm thinking.
Take your time.
See, I know that I remember last week, but I've had so little sleep the past few days that it's like memories don't work.
Very fairly said, Tarek. Let me see if I can stir something for you. I think that the session began with some misgivings, yes? Regarding your own servitude of the Church of Shar, your own allegiances to the Raven Queen, and your suspicions regarding the rest of your party's allegiances.
I guess the most that I would have to accurately say would be that Tarek is still working to figure out where he is fitting in all this, and is for now continuing to act out of his sense of duty. And also because he likes to irritate Arya.
Very well said. May not know.
Also, I apparently flirted with Mama Matron, which was pretty fun.
It's your flirtation ending in Revelations, as I recall, as she invited you to gaze through that grave glass scope and peer into the deeper mysteries of the night sky reigning over the Shadowfell. Tarek experienced some revelations, yet does not yet seem to know what to make of the information that both light and darkness are both the product of his own being. However, you do know that the people you are traveling with require protection, and that if indeed these servants of the Dark Mistress are to travel out to the skins, they will certainly need someone as stalwart as you to protect them. Go ahead and take inspiration, Tarek. Panda,
Yeah.
Breland, you got anything for us?
Not really.
I think a certain Breland had almost bought a puppy.
Yeah, but I didn't get one. And then I was sad, and that's all I really remember. I know we're going to something fell out of the sky or something, and or I don't know if it was Alex or Raziel thought it was an angel or something. That's all I know.
Very fair. A little bit of tough negotiation within the dust markets as the party saw slaves, arms, armor, potions, and animals for sale as well. A rather vicious-looking bugbear seemingly mistreating a number of blink dogs which he was selling. A little bit of negotiation, Breland was able to talk him down to a price of 200 gold pieces, yet, unfortunately, the deal was not made, as the party could not determine how best their gold might be spent. In addition to that, Breland, I think that there has been an important revelation for your character recently, yes, regarding the purpose of the Shadow Roads, regarding potential entrances, and regarding passageways back home for Breland, to the Feywild.
Yeah.
Do you recall anything about that?
Not really.
Very fair. You will of course find it in the party journal within the Discord. There are some rumors currently, yes, about a certain crypt within within the deathless graves, or rather within the sinking cemetery, the furthest extent of the deathless graves before it intersects with the swamps of the skins. Apparently, rumor of a formidable bone naga protecting an entrance to the shadow roads. So,
Yeah, I remember talking about that I would need everyone else to help me if I wanted to get back home, because there's no way I could get past that and figure everything out by myself.
indeed, adventurers are always in need of good company and companionship. Fortunately, all of you find yourselves in good stead in that manner, as you once again awaken within the dormitories of the Cathedral of Night, the vaults of sleep. Your rest having been achieved, your preparations, at least as I understand them, having been made, the party begins to stand, gather their arms and armor, and discuss their next steps. You can hear your own voices muted somewhat by the perpetual silence spell of the vaults of sleep, the occasional cry or scream from those undergoing obliteration audible from nearby. Yet, this is a familiar chorus within these places, and it does not bother you. What now, adventurers?
I guess we make our way out, but I guess I am going. Raziel's going to turn to Arya and ask why they're screaming.
The bubble Arya made that night prior would have just ended, and Arya was kind of just was huddling with her pillow, having just woken up from that terrible, terrible nightmare. Upon being approached by Raziel, she's shaken, screaming. What? Screaming? Oh, yes. Our good friend is dealing with troubles in terms of healing those who are struggling with their obliterations, as well as physical altercations. Are you troubled by it? I could try and create a barrier for your sleep as well.
No, I'm curious as to why they would scream during obliteration.
I don't know if they would scream during obliteration. I can't recall my own obliteration involving screaming, but I think they're screaming due to traces of memory coming back from obliteration. That or simply pain.
So, obliteration is painful?
I think what came before obliteration was painful. And they're struggling to deal with the pain that returns. I say this, and she whispers into Raziel's ear, because I feel the same thing myself. I think I was supposed to be in that empty casket. As she pulls back and starts gathering her gear, donning her armor, it takes her a little bit longer than normal to focus as she is shaken. And it's still in a bit of a cold sweat.
Well, think about this logically. You can't be in the casket if you're the one on the outside watching it, because your memory is of you watching. Correct?
Correct.
So it's not you. Maybe someone who looks like you. A family member, perhaps.
That makes it all the more troubling. I don't know. And I'm trying in my service to my goddess to hold true, to accept the peace she's offered. And in order to do so, I need to forget. I don't know if I want to. It's a painful decision.
I guess here's a question for you. All this is being said while everyone's getting ready, I'm assuming. Why not ask to see if you can have this particular memory obliterated again? If it was obliterated once, I
'Cause-
mean, it would solve.
Because Willow Switch addressed me with hatred. I don't-
I'm sure it's fine if you just ask her to obliterate it. And then that way it's no longer an issue, right?
I don't know if it's that simple. I don't know if she wants to take the effort. Scared. It's
Well,
best
the
that we don't
first,
talk about this now, Raziel. Maybe when we're on the road and I'm not surrounded by my peers who can hear my weakness.
isn't this room sound protected from the outside?
The vaults of sleep are very well warded against gossip, although Tarek has expressed some concerns of his own about being spied upon within the Cathedral of Night.
Just need to get out to this space for a bit. This place is granting me sanctuary, but I feel it's granting me sanctuary from something that perhaps is something I need to find again. And I don't know if I can trust myself or trust my peers, as she whispers that really, really quietly into Raziel's ear, to understand. It's not as simple as simply saying, hey, I have memories and they're not fading. It's saying, I have memories and I'm not letting them go.
Well, you don't have to say you're not letting them go, do you?
You know, a lot of things can be implied through many words. If I say that won't stop fading, it could mean that A, they simply are not fading, or B, I am refusing to let go, which is exactly what I was doing. But now I
Well,
want to let go. I want to feel the peace. I want to be as I was after my first obliteration.
Well, you said it was a bad dream, right?
Yes.
Maybe that's all it is.
So vivid of a bad dream.
I mean, I've had some really wacky dreams. Like dreams of getting my feet chopped off, dreams of choking, all sorts
Dreams
of
of having your
ones.
tongue ripped out through your neck.
Not that one yet, but I'm sure we'll get there eventually.
Well, regardless, I appreciate you taking some time to speak with me, Raziel. It does bring me some comfort. Though I think it's best we continue with our mission. If
Let's
Tarek's
go
not awake, wake him.
Raziel is gonna walk around and bang on the beds. Wake up, we gotta go find the who's or what's it's.
Tarek, Breedlin, as you begin to rise this morning, gathering your arms and armor, gathering your supplies, what's on your minds?
The task ahead of us.
I guess Breland's nervous because we're going to figure out what something is and we don't know what it is, so we don't know what we're getting into.
Very well said. There are great mysteries within the Shadow Wilds beyond, and perhaps they are best to be reckoned with in person. In that case, as the party rises, your armaments having been gathered, your path laid out for you, you have been given the general destination, the general coordinates to exit into the skins from the deathless graves and proceed as far northward from the city into the Shadow Wilds as you may. Yet, you know that this plane of shadow, much like the hells, much like the heavens above, is psycho-transformative, responsive to your own emotional state, responsive to your own minds. And as you have been warned by the Darkseekers, it is most important to keep your wills strong and stay determined in order to seek that location that is your destination. With that in mind, as you gather your armor, as you gather your supplies, what next? What do you do?
I'm
Breland.
going to ready my documenting tools.
Breland.
What's up?
Yeah. Are you ready to partake in our mission?
I am nervous for what we will find, but I believe I am ready.
You are a guest of our church, but don't feel like you are their servants. If you feel uneased, don't be afraid to ask for comfort. Not necessarily through obliteration, but just for the sake of a guiding hand.
I will take that into consideration.
All right. Tarek, where's that metal-headed lug?
Probably sleeping.
Is Tarek sleeping?
No. Eric is just getting ready. I guess that looks like him putting his gear on and making sure everything he needs is in his sack and I don't know, stuff like that.
Very well. I will happily guide our party out then.
Very good.
Words.
Unless there are objections, then Arya, you begin to lead the party through the dormitories, through the vaults of sleep, ascending the darkened stair and the blackened veil that separates you from the altar of night. You can see here, even within the early morning, there are still dozens of supplicants in hooded veils, praying to the form of the mother goddess, as it has been given here, that slender world tree whose sharp branches seem to sever the very bounds of reality at their tips. As you move past the murmured prayers to the goddess's altar, as you begin to move out past the campus of the Cathedral of Night, its shadow steel spires rising behind you, the white lilies, forget-me-nots, and other flowers of memory blooming all about you. As you move through the front gates, the Lost Keepers drawing them wide with single-fisted salutes as your party moves forth upon the business of the Mother Goddess. As you move out once again into the city of Gloomrot's labyrinthine streets, covered within the dust of the grave, the dark sky above you, the green glittering grave glass lanterns providing the only bits of light poking out from windows and street lamps. Where next?
I assume we're going to be going straight towards the skin party mates?
I
Or
believe.
do we want to do anything else?
Or do we have to go to the Deathless Graves first? Because we just exited the Temple District, right?
So, just looking at the map, boss,
Mm-hmm.
is our destination on this side the skins, or is it on this side the skins?
You were given the recommendation to travel north from the Deathless Graves through the skins.
North from the Deathless Graves.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And what was the material that we were asked to find by Tiefling Girl, who has a very complicated name I cannot remember?
Zornaxos, the dream seer of the Vaults of Sleep, instructed you guys to find Shadow Slumber Lavender within the skins, a very valuable and rare alchemical component for the purposes of bringing peace to those undergoing obliteration.
All right. So she will make that note and say, all right, towards the Deathless Graves we go. We might encounter beasts and bastards along the way.
Onwards to adventure and discovery.
And if they make a problem, we will dispatch them as we need to.
I will make sure they see Shah's endless mercy.
Oh, by the way, how do you know if it's day or night here?
There's no
You
such
don't.
thing as day or night.
It's just always night.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Is it-
this is an in-person question or in-character question.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And that's what I was saying, you don't. It is always the same.
I'm not aware of anything that you would call day. I've only heard rumors of something called day, much like rumors of what you call this burning fire called sun. But it's not a big concern of mine. I think it's exciting, to say the least, to have a sun that tries to kill you in the sky. I mean, I'm certain that there's.
Try to kill you.
It doesn't try to kill you.
How does it not try to kill you? You described it as a fireball. Okay, I'm gonna get heated and talk about this topic while we walk towards the deathless graves.
I don't see why you decided to stop walking while we were going.
As you see that she stopped dead in her tracks, like, no. You see, it's hard sometimes to talk and think and walk at the same time.
Really?
Oh, I
The
stopped
Woman is
moving.
passionate about the sun. Doesn't even know what it is.
You keep talking about it like it's something very interesting. I'm not sure whether to regard it
Well-
as something good or as something bad.
Maybe
Not
if I
really.
ever get back home, you can come with and we can show you the sun.
I might be interested in seeing it if it is within Char's will.
I do have to ask, though, Breland. Do you think her eyes will be able to handle it?
That is something.
Oh,
I've
I'm
not
sure her eyes can handle it
considered,
if she can handle. Oh, sorry, you first.
along with the sunburn possibility of sunburn. I'm sure her skin isn't used to it.
And then I decide, oh, I'm sure she can handle it. And I pull out my magic lamp, put it in front of Arya's eyes, and say, humana, turn the fuck on, and kind of say, hey, think you can handle this? As I turn on the brightest light in front of her eyes.
Fuck! Turn that shit off! Oh! You do realize that my eyes are far too into the darkness. Oh! As Arya speaks with her hands over her face, trying to shield her eyes.
Daytime!
That is why, if we go and see the sun, you do not look directly into it.
As the party
I turn off the light.
As the party picks their way through the feathered ward here, the occasional calls of hooded hawkers, the occasional cries of rushing criminals making smash and grabs nearby as you make your way through the poorest district of Gloomrot, also the most direct route to the Deathless Graves. I think as that lantern turns on for a brief moment, that would be a good time to ask for a random encounter die. Do you encounter any difficulties during travel? Someone roll me a
I think it's
D12.
only fair that Tarek does it.
Um,
Oh, if Breland wants to do it.
you said
give it to
D12?
A D12, an 11 or a 12 resulting in encounter.
Oh!
However, there are no difficulties. A brief moment,
Oh.
the party finds themselves face to face with a pack of starving shadow mastiffs, yet I know Breland, carrying appropriate rations, manages just to lay down and roll around with the puppies in the alleyway for the 5 minutes that it takes to avoid that encounter.
Hell yeah.
Very good.
Nice.
Just go ahead and mark off a ration from your inventory there, Breland.
Okay.
Charitably given to the dogs of the street. Other than that, though, you encounter no difficulties as you once again move toward the Deathless Graves. You can see the vast, sprawling necropolis reaching out from the city. You can see, or you can smell that fresh grave earth. You can see the grave dust which rises above it upon the winds that whip the night air, carrying it out to where it settles over the city. You can see, of course...
Boy, howdy, I hope you guys have eye protection.
For what?
Eye protection for all the dust that's being flown about.
Ugh.
Plenty of dust here in the city of Gloomrot, grave dust covering almost every single surface of the area. Also, frequently humid as it is next to the stormy seas. It's a lovely environment to live in. Yet,
That sounds like a joy.
as you approach the hooded Lost Keepers, the military arm of Gloomrot, here standing vigil always at the walls of the Deathless Graves, admittance is no difficulty. You have been here before, flashing, of course, the sacred sigil of Shar, born upon Tarek and upon Arya's palms. Under the laws of the Tripartite Pact, admittance is granted. You find yourselves beginning to wander the deathless graves. Of course, Graveguard Hall, the headquarters of the Grave Tenders, that imposing structure of ebony wood and dark stone. You can see its silhouette, the spires of its bell tower, and the stately tolling of its ringing almost incessantly nearby. You remember the allies that you have met there before. You can see also the mausoleums, the tombs, and the monuments of the deathless graves sprawling out before you. What now?
Do we happen to see any of that beautiful Shadow Slumber lavender?
Here within the deathless graves, it would be unlikely. Zora Naxos has let you know that it grows within some of the darkest parts, the swampiest parts of the skins.
Okay. Well, Breland and Raziel, this is the Deathless Graves. Apparently, my grave is here somewhere, but we need not worry about that.
Do you
It's
want to look
wise-
for it while we're here?
No.
We just have to look for your last name, right?
That's a detour I'm not sure if we're in the privilege to take right now.
Maybe that's a detour we can take on the way back.
That is wise, Breland. I agree with that sentiment.
I guess, can I look? I don't remember Ari's last name. It's not going to do me any good to look around.
Very fair.
I was going to say, hey, I can look around while we're walking through. But I don't remember. There's no point.
I guess we can, as we're passing through the graves, I can say that I'm just glancing at them, looking for the last name, Diest.
Very good. Roll me a perception check.
Okay.
With a 15, as you begin to press your way through the winding roads of the deathless graves, moving from the gilded and ornate mausoleums here nearest to the city, known as the auctioned plots, moving further out toward the sinking cemetery, where paupers' graves begin to intermingle with the bog of the skins itself. You do not see any monuments that look familiar. No names that look familiar either, at least not personally. You can see names such as the family Karad, such as Deskenfold, such as Shadowvale, and other noble names of well-known families here within Gloomrot, yet none that strike you as familiar, Arya Diest.
Arya looks to the party as she's walking towards the north and says, yeah, the obliteration is strong. If I would have remembered any of it, I'm certain that it would have come back to me now. But that's okay. Now, I want to keep in mind, Zornaxus needs Shadow Slumber lavender. It is said to grow in the darkest, swampiest parts of the skins. If we can keep our eyes open for that, and be able to spare some of those people from the horrible terrors of their obliterations, I think that would be fair.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is either, but I would assume it's lavender, and lavender is the same color as my skin. As she looks at her skin, that's kind of a lavendery gray.
Everything looks that color here. What are you talking about?
Enjoy flowers.
See, there you go, Breland. You're on the right track.
Also, we both were obliterated, so I guess a way to pay them back is only to help out with something they need.
All right. Now, I suppose we continue onward then. Come on.
Very good.
Yeah, I don't really want to hang out in a
Is
graveyard.
the Karad crypt where the deathless graves were in here?
Yeah, the Karad family crypt is part of the nearest section of the Deathless Graves to Gloomrot. It's the portion that is still inside Gloomrot proper. You know, those the auctioned plots. Given how much death there is in Gloomrot and at what a premium space is, most noble families' crypts are kept very close to the city itself.
Can I see where the building / ground was collapsed? I'm not actively trying to go there. I just want to see if I just want to know if I can see it from where we're at.
Good question. Give me a perception check at disadvantage, as this is kind of a big ask.
Give me 1 second. Sometimes things don't like to load for me.
Take your time. Very good.
That is not correct.
We'll take that natural 5 regardless, though, Razio. The thick mists of the grave.
I have a +5 to my...
Naturally. Even with a 10, however, the thick mists of the graves pressing around you make it difficult to see more than 60 feet or so away, and the path that your party walks does not seem to intersect with the old walled mausoleum that your party left collapsed when you last exited it.
Wow, this place is big. I wonder if that chick we rescued is okay.
I'm not sure it's for us to worry about anymore.
What?
You talking about Vendetta?
Yeah.
Indeed, I don't think the party has heard tale of Vendetta Cress since they exited the Karad family crypt. Yet, perhaps a curiosity for another time.
Just a curiosity.
Go on.
Oh, just a curiosity.
The one thing that I will say that you see with a 10 on perception, Razio, is as the party begins to pick their way out of the auctioned plots, as you see the family graves growing smaller and smaller, more and more stripped of their gemstones and gilded coverings, places where bandits have become braver, giving way to small, singular tombs, still fairly well maintained. And yet, even as those eventually begin to turn into a boggy ground, threatening to swallow up your own footsteps, you can tell that you are beginning to approach the extremity of the Deathless Graves, the area known as the Sinking Cemetery. As you are pressing through it with a 10, Razio, you see something from up ahead, cutting through the mist and cutting through the occasional guttering grave glass lamp that is situated above a tended grave. You can see a bright and piercing light, not unlike the one that Tarek carries with him, seeming to scan through the mist ahead. You can tell that your paths will intersect soon. What does your party wish to do?
I guess I'm informing them of what I noticed.
Perhaps bandits. Perhaps Cardinal Fangs. What say you, Tarek? Press forward and meet them, or go around?
The Cardinal Fangs?
I'm not saying that they are the Cardinal Fangs. I'm saying that it could be the Cardinal Fangs.
Is there anything we could run into that wouldn't try to kill us?
What is a
aside from this blessed son of yours, I'm not aware of anything, dearest Breland.
And I would suggest going around, because last time we ended up in a small fight in the market, we had to come back and rest. So if we actually want to get out of here, I would recommend avoiding it.
Well, this is the best path. I think
I apparently do
we
have
need not
history.
always.
You what?
I apparently have some form of history with the Cardinal Fangs that was apparently positive to them. Maybe they'll just let us pass? Who knows?
Well, you are sure. All right, now, at least perhaps in name only. But
I'm going to glare at Arya.
But I think it is wise to make the assumption that if it is Cardinal Fang, we need not fight with them, and I don't think they need to fight with us.
Why would they fight us? What is that?
The Cardinal Fangs are a type of vampire cult.
A
Our
cult?
newest member I've seen, not in our party, but one of the ones who's struggling with their obliteration, is a former Cardinal Fang. Regardless, we can defend ourselves in a scrap. I have new abilities that are more than certainly able to dissuade attackers.
Very good. The party can see this light approaching through the fog, a silhouette quickly beginning to follow behind it. Are we attempting to conceal ourselves from whoever this is?
That's an excellent question. Should we hide from these cardinal things?
I
don't-
don't think I would have much reason to hide. I would feel like as long as we're walking like we know where we're going and that we have business and we know what we're doing, that we'll most likely be left alone.
Breeland's gonna try to hide behind Tarek.
Noticing that Breland's hiding behind Tarek, Arya will stand beside Tarek to doubly block our beloved Breland.
Aw.
Very good. In that case, it sounds like the party is continuing on up ahead in order to meet whatever's coming.
Yep.
Very good. As the party presses on through the fog, you can begin to see the lantern that is being held. A very thin, long lantern, very similar to the one that Tarek is in possession of. And moments later, it becomes evident why. You can see the form of the old grave tender before you, his thin gray hair, the long beard falling down over his crimson robes. You can also make out a familiar-looking mask, very much like a plague doctor's mask, composed of the bones of some enormous avian. As the figure begins to approach, as your silhouettes come up through the fog, you hear a rough voice hailing you. Living or dead? Do you come in peace
Living.
or violence?
I mean, I think I'm living. Last time I checked, I was.
I'm going to glare at Raziel and say, just silence. Living. No quarrel with you. Business on the Church of Shar.
After a moment, you see the blinding light scouring over you, studying each of your features momentarily, saying, "Step forward that I may see you."
I'm going to look at Arya for a second, and then I'm going to step forward.
And what right do you have to demand this of us?
These are our graves, cleric. It's the tripartite pact. You should well know. I would hope you would recognize an old friend, if nothing else. As you see Gravetender Everfisser begin to remove the bird-like mask that he wears on his duty, you can see that the old Gravetender has been well healed from the wounds that he last suffered. You can see that his thick ash walking stick, also wielded as a cudgel, seems snapped at the end as well. As he moves toward each of you, looking toward Tarek, looking toward Arya with recognition, says, would have thought that you would have been done with your business here within graves by now. Certainly left us with enough to clean up behind you. And who are these? As he looks toward Breland and toward Raziel. New servants of the church.
They are not.
No.
They are
I'm
simply
on research.
friends of ours and guests of the church.
Guests. Well, consider yourselves guests here as well, in that case. What brings you to my graves? Certainly not sightseeing. Come to visit some family members.
Well, we are actually on business to investigate something that's within the skin. That is as much as I'm willing to share on that particular topic. I will ask you a question, Everfisser.
He looks toward you and says, we'll see how much I'm willing to share on that particular topic.
Have you seen any graves that belong to the family of Diest recently?
He looks toward you for a moment, and he's going to make a history check with advantage, as, like he says, these are his graves. With a natural 19, he says, Diest. A noble name, yes.
If it is, I don't remember it, but it is a name that is mine.
Interesting. The responsibilities of nobility. Yes, I've seen the name before. An old grave in the auctioned plots. Just one that I can remember.
Would you be willing to mark it on a map so that I might investigate it?
He looks toward you and says, willing? I would not use that word, but I could be convinced. He places his black oak cudgel in both hands, leaning on it rather heavily, taking a moment to breathe. As he looks toward Tarek and says, ever since that trouble with the Karad crypt, the dead have been restless. We've been working double recently.
That sounds exhausting. I imagine there's something you'd like for us to do to help with that.
You've learned how things work here in Gloomrot, then, have you, boy? Yes. I can't afford to lose any more grave tenders out in the sinking cemetery. In fact, just went wandering after one who was failed to report myself. Plenty of undead rising. Think that we've tracked the location to an old mass grave.
Do you know what's them to be restless? Why they aren't seeking the comfort of their graves?
He looks toward you and says, there has been some discussion recently within Graveguard Hall. Most of it debate. Although that is as much as I am willing to share on that subject, as he says with a slight ironic smile once again. From what you note about this guy, he can bear a grudge for a long time. But, he says, whatever transpired within the halls of the Karad family crypt seems to have spilled over into the rest of the cemetery with its destruction. I know not what curses you released down there, but they have been sticky to clean up.
I'm gonna look over at Raziel and glare at her because she's the one who collapsed the cavern.
The only thing I'm aware of for being released was us.
We never know the consequences of our actions until we see it in front of us.
Well,
May I approach you, sir?
He looks toward you and says, such manners. Do so.
Alright, then Raziel, approaches him closely. And Raziel will ask the question, what do you know of Loviatar?
He looks at you, his head cocked inquisitively for a moment, and he says, the Lady of the Nine Scourge, the Maiden of Pain. Not one commonly worshipped within the city. What do you wish to know? He looks at you with great suspicion.
Do they have any, I guess, what would they want with corpses?
He looks at you, his eyes narrowed in suspicion. Make a persuasion check.
No.
Can I help her?
How would you like to help her?
I would offer to help her by, I guess I would interject that it's something that's been on our minds as to how the Loviatar is possibly involved in this, and we're both curious as to getting more information, because having more information might help us figure out how to resolve the problem. Because in Tarek's mind, Tarek still cares about the dead, and he does not like seeing them restless and not wanting the peace of their graves. So he would want to know if they have anything to do with this also.
Very good. Go ahead and roll a persuasion check of your own. We'll take the higher of the two.
Well, surely it's higher than a 0. I can guarantee that.
We got a 16.
I got a natural 20.
Hit you. And with your modifier, what's that bring it to?
26 with my 26.
26. Very nice. Everfisser considers himself for a moment, tapping his cudgel upon the stone path before him. As he turns for a moment, gesturing toward a small hilly rise that overlooks a number of graves, a dogwood tree blossoming upon the rise, as he says, "How much time do you have?"
I'm going to look at my wrist that has no clear timepiece. I'm going to say, as much time as you're willing to give us.
He looks toward the rest of you and says, "Share an old man in his respite, then. I'll make some tea. If you're moving into the skins, you'll be well steadied by it in that case."
Do you have rations? I have some that I'd be willing to share with you.
He says, "I packed a lunch. I never leave the hall unless I'm well prepared."
Of course, but you know I got to offer. You help me learn how much I care about those who are resting.
Well said. As he leads you over and begins to remove a small camp pot and begins to put some very black roasted sencha tea into the bottom of it, like several ounces, much more than you would normally boil up, simply to enjoy. This brutally thick, strong brew, practically peeling your eyes back just to smell the fumes from it. As he begins to stir the tea in front of him, he looks toward the party and says, "What would they want with corpses? Aye, that's your question."
Yes, sir. Would you mind if I document your answer in my journal?
He looks at you with confusion for a moment and says, "If you wish, I have no objection to my words being written down."
Please forgive her. She's a very organized angel.
I have a horrible memory, so
The memory of a goldfish.
I was about to say that.
What's a goldfish?
But no one did.
No.
Yeah.
So, as he begins to speak, he says, "Corpses. Frankly, I couldn't imagine. As I've ever understood of the cult of Loviatar, it is their interest in the living, yes? In the scarification of flesh and in its sanctification thereby. They worship pain, yes." He takes the cudgel and he prods Tarek in the shoulder, not cruelly, but just a little bit uncomfortably, and says, "And pain is a province of the living."
So what do you mean by sanctify?
He looks at you and he says, "It's not a cult I have studied intimately myself, as you understand. My business is with the dead. Yet, to put it in a form you might better understand." He looks at each of you and says, "What do you know of the martyr god Ilmater?"
Would I know anything about this at all?
If you know anything in character, or if you know anything out of character, you're welcome to take that knowledge in character. It's one of the more commonly worshipped gods throughout the multiverse. But if you don't know much, you're more than welcome to roll a history check or a religion check.
I was going to
Arya
ask if I
chime in
could
a little
roll.
bit?
Yeah, any of you can roll that.
Can Arya chime in a little bit?
Yeah, by all means.
Ilmater, don't you mean that god of suffering? The one who... Forgive me, my knowledge on him is rather vague, but he is kind of a god of mercy, if I recall.
He nods and says, "In simplest form, aye. The martyred king, the lord of wounds. pain is a holy property within his portfolio, as he seeks to remove it from those who suffer, taking it upon himself, and in doing so, hoping to elevate the lives of those who have suffered. You may think of Loviatar as an antithesis, in a sense. That pain is the province of kings, yet not to endure, but to inflict. That it is pain, that it is suffering, and all its forms which motivate men and rule this world.
I want to know what mushrooms they were eating.
Clearly the good kind.
He looks toward you and he fishes into like his back pocket here, and he removes like it basically looks like a penis envy mushroom, but like it has a screaming person's face where like the cap should be, and he says, "I mean, I'm off in about an hour if you guys just want to ride the come up with me."
I would love to partake in such frivolities, but
This will make you see ghosts. Actual ghosts.
I appreciate the thought about it, but I would again, we do have a mission that needs to be fulfilled. I need my teammates to be of clear mind.
Oh, this will clear you out, but it'll take a few hours.
I mean,
No, thank you. I won't partake. But I guess I have a new question for you. I guess why would they be so interested in branding people, if you might happen to know?
As he bites the head off of the mushroom, which emits a small scream, he kind of grinds it through his teeth. He says, branding. He looks toward Tarek and toward Arya and says, the two of you said something about this. The 9 scourge revenants we have seen. All that I could imagine, yes, is that those undead bearing the mark of Loviatar have been put here to inflict more pain. Aye, it's what undead do. The resonance of their own pain, the resonance of their own memories too much to bear. It reanimates them. They become a scourge.
I wonder if it's intentional to cause the dead to rise.
He is going to make an insight check as you say that. With a natural 4, he doesn't manage to put anything together. As he says, perhaps, I mean, there have been enough risen dead in this place recently, and certainly enough of them since the collapse of that crypt.
Speaking of which, we do have our own mission to complete, which must take precipice. But in exchange for the favor of you telling me where the Diast family crypt is, perhaps we might aid you in your duties in exchange for this knowledge.
He looks at you and says, it would be a great burden lifted from Graveguard Hall. Our ranks are stretched thin. I was moving back to gather what allies I could before traveling back to the sinking cemetery. And I shall be faithful with you. This old man's body is not built for adventure like it once was. If you would take up the mantle, I would be thankful, and I would see you rewarded, of course.
Very well. Now, I hate to cut our conversation short, but you did enjoy your mushroom, and I'm certain that it will turn to quite strange streets rather soon.
No, this is just maintenance. This is like my 9th one today.
Well, regardless, I do want to get to my on the move. This is a time-sensitive matter that we're dealing with. Excuse me.
He nods.
Can
Go
you
on.
tell us what the guy looked like?
What looked like?
What the guy who he's looking for? I mean, that would be useful for us in searching for him.
Yes. As he says, yes. Apprentice grave tender Vaxor. Shadowed high fellow, bit weedy, bit thin. Nervous look about him. Long silvered hair. Dressed, of course, in the finery of a cleric of the Raven Queen. Last seen 2 days ago. I would not hold out hopes for his survival, but if the body could be recovered, that would be of some value.
All right, can do.
He nods, looks to the rest of you, and says, raises one of his gnarled fingers and says, I would not detain you longer than you wish to speak, but I would leave you with a word of warning. You travel into the skins, eh?
Yes.
He looks towards you each and says, if you still speak of things such as direction and the passage of time, then I ask, how do you measure those things?
I simply measure it through hours, I suppose.
Aye. And hours kept by what? Kept by flickering candles melting, kept by hourglasses, or the on-off cycles of grave glass lamps. Direction met by what? Without celestial bodies in the sky, without the spires of the churches and the castles of Gloomrot to guide you, how will you hold to direction? How will you hold to time when all is shadow about you?
My own sheer will.
He looks toward you, those wild, very large pupils, as you notice now, looking toward you, Tarek, as he says, your own will, yes, and it will be tested. I advise you to keep it with you at each step. Your own thoughts will send you spiraling in false directions. Your body's own weakness will cause you to forget time. Most who travel into the Shadow Wilds do not return. You'll need more than your wits about you.
If you're offering a timekeeper, I'll appreciate it.
He considers that for a moment. Make a persuasion check.
17 plus 6 is 23.
Very nice. He considers it for a moment, murmurs in irritation, and then toys with a small object underneath his robe as he removes a thin black string from around his neck, saying, well, you already robbed me of my lantern, had to replace that. I suppose you could consider this a down payment on a job well done in that case. As he produces for you a slim black hourglass that is filled not with sand, but with what looks like a liquid light that is giving off its own soft luminescence. Dim light about 5 feet.
That's neat.
It is quite beautiful, Professor. Thank you for your aid.
As he looks toward you, he says, wisp glass, aye? One soul stuck within it, or the memory of one. We wouldn't be so cruel. Should flip up and down with whatever memory you imbue it with. It'll take an hour to attune to. You want to meditate upon the length of time in mind, and indeed how you measure it. Yet, after that, it should flow to your preset.
And I want to do that now. While we're in the safety of this place.
That's fair.
He looks toward you each and says, well, the tea is just about brewed. If you'd care to partake of it with me, then you're more than welcome to. I shan't disturb your meditations.
Would I have noticed him potentially poisoning the tea?
Good question. Make an insight check. With a 26, no. Although the sheer amount of tea that he stuffed in the bottom of this pot, I mean, it's practically poison itself. It's gonna be bitter and strong and black as fuck.
Ah. Just like... Huh. Odd. It seems like I almost had a memory of something, but I can't quite remember. Seems someone in my history likes tea. And likes it very strong. Unless it's another type of drink that's very strong and bitter.
He gestures broadly to the rolling graves around you and he says, this is a place built for memories. I wouldn't be surprised if you begin to dig up a few while you sit here. It's a calm place at night, as he begins to pour out the glasses before him. Says, although I would interrogate the thoughts you have. Don't trust them too readily. The dead are always howling for the living to fulfill what they could not.
I'm gonna ask him how he can tell the difference between night and day in this place.
He looks at you with bewilderment and says, there is no meaning to night and day in this place. That is a souvenir you must have taken over from the Prime. There is only your own body, its will, and its ability to press forth. I have a question for you in that case. For each of you. How do you know when you're getting tired? How do you know when your own thoughts cannot be trusted? How do you know when your own body's strength will fail you? Before it happens.
Before it happens?
Aye. He gestures toward the sinking cemetery and the misty blackness beyond. If you learn it out there, you will not return. You must know when to rest. You must know when to pause. You must know when your body requires caffeine, sustenance, stimulation. You must know when your own thoughts are being drawn into depression. You must know when your own mind is being led into madness, for there will be none other to warn you, except you, and he looks toward the rest of you, and your companions. How well do you know yourselves? How well do you know one another?
Well, I
An
would say we
excellent
don't
question.
know one another very well.
I'm meditating to my memory of a soul, so I'm not saying anything.
Frankly, I don't know them that well at all.
Troubling. Then you will be of very little aid to one another. Tell me, how well do you know yourselves, and perhaps your companions will profit by that answer.
I've been obliterated. Barely know my own name, let alone some of these vague memories I have coming from.
He clicks his tongue with irritation, looking away from you for a moment as you say that. He looks back and says, then the Church of Shar has simply sent helpless pups to die in the wilds. I hoped not to see your corpses wandering out into my graves from the skins. Yet, rest assured, I shall lay you to rest with all dignity, if they do.
Raziel is still considering the question right now.
If you cannot answer me, friends, then I shall not detain you. But I will warn you that answers will be demanded by the darkness beyond.
Is the skin some kind of living entity?
He looks toward you. He says, "An interesting question from a child of Shar." He gestures toward the dark sky above, and he says, "I thought that it was your church that taught that this entire plane was the body of the goddess herself, or at once was." I would not say
We have
that it is
been-
any more alive than the city streets of Gloomrot. Yet, there are fewer consciousnesses that hold it to its word. You understand?
I understand.
Fewer memories which pin down the travelable paths. You will not be able to rely upon the thousands that keep lanterns lit within this city. You will be able to rely only upon the light that you carry yourselves. So I ask, how do you know when your light's going out?
Smell.
Smell?
What?
What?
Yeah. So you can smell how well the oil inside of a lantern is burning.
He straight
Right?
up face palms. Not your literal. You carry magic lights. They don't burn oil. I mean, how can you tell? I'm asking you. How can you tell when despair is going to set in before it sets in?
Despair?
I feel like he's just asking vague, gloomy questions for the sake of asking vague, gloomy questions.
You're looking at a high old man who spends all of his time in the graves. Maybe that's the case. Maybe he's also trying to share something valuable with you, though, because he's been alive here for a long time.
See, this is a sad time for Tarek to be meditating to the soul of whomever the fuck is in there.
I can't answer you on despair exactly, but I can answer you on rest and food, at least in my case. When I look at my hands, whether or not they're capable of staying still, or if they begin to tremble.
He looks at you, his bushy eyebrows raising, and says, "Aye, that is wise, that is clever. Listening to your own body. What else? What else do you know about yourself?"
I know that whenever I feel memories coming, it's quite the experience.
He looks at you and says, "Ah, obliterated, like you said. How do you know when they're coming back to you before they come back to you? It's all one and the same. How do you watch the movements of your own mind, your own heart, your own body?" Have you learned
It's
to interrogate your own actions?
I can't say that I have.
I think it's reasonable to do so. After all, if you end up having a thought you wouldn't logically have under normal circumstances, surely there is some sort of outside force giving you or giving rise to the thought in question.
Fairly said. You look for tremors in your hands. You look for tremors in your mind. You look for tremors in your soul. Before they break. If you can do that, you may survive. And if you can catch them in each other, then you'll be even safer.
sounds logical.
Logical. He spits on the ground, his sputum black from the heavy tea that he's been ingesting. Logical indeed. Begins to pick himself up, dust himself off, and begin to gather his supplies. As he looks to each of you, and says, "Well, I hope that logic serves you well. I hope that you make it back. I look forward to seeing your report of victory at Graveguard Hall." He nods toward Tarek and says, "And I look forward to you returning to me my wisp glass, so that you may be properly rewarded."
How long has it been? Am I allowed to talk now?
I mean, attunement takes an hour in game time. We can say that that's been that long.
So, I'm finally done meditating with this thing. And I'm going to hear him say that he wants it back, and I'm going to repeat and say, yes, I will return this to you once we are back. You might have to talk to Steve in here. It's kind of lonely.
As you have attuned to apparently Steven, the soul of, what shall we say, like a... Who was he? Who was Steven in life, Tarek? You must know him better than the rest of us now.
Steven was an aspiring actor who, for some shape or reason, was sent to this plane as a punishment for pissing off the king he was trying to act for. And he was very quickly gobbled up and is now living inside of this thing.
Very solid. Steven got a little bit too serious about his stage performance of Phantom of the Opera. He was cast as the opera, and he was cast as the Phantom, and he actually started stalking the royal music halls, murdering people, etc. It was a whole thing. But he swears he was just trying to stay method.
Oh.
Oh, just like that one actor who did the Joker.
Heath
The
Ledger?
one guy.
Well, he didn't actually kill people, though.
The new one. The one who would give mean
Joaquin
pranks.
Phoenix?
The one who was in the...
Joaquin Phoenix?
I don't know name. Is that the name of the white guy?
No, I'm only saying it for my health. Every time I say it, I lose 25 pounds.
I don't know anything.
Oh my god.
I'm not gonna lie, I almost asked really, and then I was like, wait, that was sarcasm.
Maybe I should take one of those mushrooms.
Gravetender Evervisser gestures. I mean, they grow on all the graves around here. You're welcome to pick what you need. I'm certain that it won't be bothering anyone.
I wasn't entirely being serious, but
I mean, hey,
I feel
I'll
like I'm
take
going
some.
insane with these people. Tarek drives me insane sometimes. I hope you realize that.
Raziel is gonna go to shake the old man's hand and tell him thank you, and that his insight is incredibly valuable, and I'm incredibly thankful for his time.
He looks at your hand for a moment, gives it a single firm shake. A great deal of strength still belying within this old man, as he begins to fix his bird-like mask back on and return to his patrols. He says, "Consider it the ramblings of a mad old man if you wish, but it's kept me alive long enough to become a mad old man. Good luck to you."
And maybe you'll get to be long enough to be a mad old coot.
We're already on the verge, boy. Just give it a little while. Good luck to you. I shall see you again. Aye? Hopefully
Yeah.
still breathing.
Hope so.
I have no intention of dying anytime soon, so plan to see me soon.
Ew,
I feel steel. I
reeks.
feel ready. I know what awaits. I don't know what awaits us going forward, but I know that I will be strong.
Very good. Tarek, as you say that to yourself, that you do not know what awaits you going forward, but you will be strong. You remember your encounter within the moonless oculus, gazing into the grave glass scope. It's very much the same mindset you had then. You remember your ascent through the dark. You remember the confusion that it brought you. It's difficult to be strong when you're not sure what being strong means.
To me, in that moment, it means, yes, I went through all that confusion, but I still came out and I was still okay. So that I know, going forward, I can go through that again and come out still okay.
Well said. Your willingness to face the darkness has not been impacted. Your resolve is steeled. Each of you jittering slightly, having partaken from the tea, you can feel your own minds clear from the effects of the stimulants, seeming to push past the mist of the deathless graves as you begin to travel them. As the party presses through, you've been given a couple new destinations, should you seek them. The Diest family grave within the auctioned plots, and also this mass grave somewhere within the sinking cemetery that you've been given the location of as well.
Well, wouldn't the sinking cemetery be kind of like
En route to the
on
skins.
the way?
Yeah.
Yeah. May as well go there first.
What are we doing?
I thought our thing was time sensitive though, so should
Yeah,
we do that
I'm
first
kind
and
of.
then
I'm
come
not in
back?
the mood to go on all the detours.
That's fair. I guess I'll keep an eye out for the guy in question as we pass by the sinking graves.
Very good. So, no need for any perception check. You will not have any luck in encountering the apprentice gravetender, should you simply be keeping an eye out for him. Gravetender Everfisser, of course, has given you the location of the mass grave from which undead have been spilling since the collapse of the Karad family crypt, as well as the down payment in the form of the wisp-glassed Tarek. Yet nothing binds you in that direction. If you wish, you may simply press on toward the skins.
I guess we go to the skins first.
I would say going to the skins first, yes, that's our main primary goal. Arya wants to do it, it is time sensitive in their mind, and they're probably already mad that Tarek went on a detour and wasted a whole day doing that, so. Plus, he's ready to face what the challenges are ahead. He's almost
I mean,
looking
Arya's not
forward
going
to
to
being
complain to free
tested.
tea. You see how expensive that shit is? That shit's expensive.
Well, you got a nice concentrated batch of it right there.
Very good. The party continues to press through the deathless graves here, sticking to the main paths until they too begin to crumble into the boggy ground before you. You can see sunken monuments sticking out like the fingers of corpses scrabbling for something to hold on to. You can see where crumbled stone has replaced gilded ornamentation. And beyond that, you can see the hanging wall itself, the great bastion that surrounds the city of Gloomrot. Corpses of the executed dangling from it like ornaments upon a Christmas tree. Yet, as you press your way through the graves, you can see also where the wall itself has begun to sink into the ever-hungry bog that lies beyond mankind's attempts at civilization within this hostile land. As you begin to gather yourself at the precipice of one of these breaks in the wall where you can see its great blackened mortar jutting out like the tips of pyramids beneath the sand, you know that should you take another step forward, you will enter the shadow wilds of the skins. The lights, the memories, the direction that the city gives you will disappear into the gloam, and you will be by yourselves. You know that the direction is many days northward from the deathless graves. How many days precisely The arithmagicians of the Moonless Oculus did not specify. How many degrees northward, unspecified as well, for all things will cease to have meaning once you have left this city, and you will rely upon your own will, your own minds, and your own dedication to your task to guide you. Are there any final words or preparations before you pass on?
Feel yourselves, friends. You need to be mentally hardened to go in here.
You mean out there?
Out, whatever. Don't take away from my moment.
But what if the city was out there and we were in here?
I do not
Did
think
you
you
eat
understand
one
the
of those
gravity of what we're going to
mushrooms?
be facing.
What'd you say, Panda?
What, did you eat some of the mushrooms?
No, I just thought it'd be fun. Come on, guys, lighten up. We're going to have a good time. Sure,
minute.
there might occasionally be monsters, but at the end of the day, what we're going to do is we're going to find something new and exciting. It's going to be a great time.
I'm going to look over to Arya and ask her, do you think I should turn on the Humana light?
Your Humana light is likely going to be a beacon for all things that are willing to kill us.
Well,
I
then
am
you're
not-
probably going to have to guide us.
I know of a trick that should be able to help us out. And she's going to look at everyone and say, look at me for a quick moment. And she opens her sacred reliquary. Char, these people. And she daps a piece of sacred Malvine onto Tarek's forehead. Bloop. Just a small little dot. She's going to look to Raziel. Guide these people. Their weakness is now your strength. And she's going to reach forward, kind of asking, can I dot this thing on your forehead?
I guess Raz will move or will like point to the opening next to their horn and just say, you can just, or does it have to be the center?
She's going to gently reach at the mask, pull it, like, if I may.
That's the question.
I need to tap this on your forehead as part of the ritual, darling.
Yes, there's an opening right here next to my horn.
Okay, and then she's going to plunk. Guide these people. Their weakness is now your strength. May they see the world, and they point towards Breland, as you do. Plunk. As she shares Eyes of Night, everyone has 500-foot dark vision for 1 hour.
Well, I can see more trees than before.
Thank you, Arya. I might also suggest that everyone make immense notes now of what you believe the time to be, so that we can keep track of it going forward.
You're the one who is our current timekeeper, Tarek. While I can certainly keep mind of what our time is supposed to be, I will also be keeping mind as to you being our guiding piece.
What if we keep it hour 0?
Would I know what time it is right now?
Yes, you would know what time it is right now. According to the grave glass lanterns of the city of Gloomrot, which do track a 24-hour period similar to those upon the prime material planes, it is considered to be the 20th hour of the day, or approximately 8 p.m. at night.
It is currently the 20th hour of the day. That is when we are entering here. Everyone know that. And that will help us keep track of the time with Steve in here.
Well, thank you, Stephen. Regardless, shall we move on? This blessing is not a permanent one. It wears away quite quickly.
I'm gonna put Steven around my neck, and I'm gonna get my shield and sword out, and I'm gonna step forward first and say, yes, let's go.
Onwards and forwards.
Very good. As the party steps over the crumbled hanging wall before you, for the first time, you step foot beyond Gloomrot. And as you begin to move into the bog and the jungle and the dense forest of the skins beyond, let's take our 15-minute break and get back to it.
Perfect. Bathroom time.
More wine.
I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. I'll be right back.
Greetings, people of Earth. You know, I'm gonna take y'all with me so I can look for some pain medicine.
It is so quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I took some pain medicine. If I fall asleep, I sincerely apologize. It is incredibly likely to knock me out. But hopefully it won't come to that.
I wonder if Ben died.
That's illegal.
Okay.
Welcome back to the world of the living.
I imagine since I went in first, I would be leading the way, and as the not official but like unofficial in the sense party leader, I would be at the very least occasionally checking in with everyone and checking in with myself.
Tarek, if you have to ask me how I'm doing one more time, I swear I will. There's so many
Sounds like you need
spells.
rest.
I am fine, Tarek, as I was 5 minutes ago, and as I was 5 minutes before that, and 5 minutes before
I said
that.
occasionally, not that often, you fuckface.
Tarek, it is
We're
very
at-
well
I
said.
have Steven to help me keep the track of time. It's not like I'm every 5 seconds because of anxiety. I have a thing that I can keep track of.
That is an
And
important
that's
note.
just a roleplay flavor. Come on, dude.
That is an important note, Tarek.
I'm gonna fight you.
In your attunement to the wisp glass, as Gravetender Everfisser told you, you were able to imprint upon it any time signature that is familiar to you. So, what is the time signature that you've implanted upon this wisp glass?
I'm gonna say, my brain can't talk. You had mentioned earlier that a lot of people tend to use the lights in Gloomrod. Is that right?
They do. There's a 24-hour cycle that is generally kept by the grave glass lanterns and the corpse wax candles that burn within homes.
That is what I would have been thinking of because that's what was most logical and sensible to me.
Very good. A 24-hour period in that case, Tarek, attuned to your wisp glass. Tarek, of course, leading the charge here, doing what he can as well to share strength with the rest of his party members. What other activities are we doing over the course of this travel in order to keep ourselves safe?
I am observing our surroundings and taking in the sights and figuring out if there's anything I can learn or notice specifically about the area that we're in.
Very good. Raziel keeping eyes peered both in curiosity and in self-preservation, attending carefully to the surroundings. What else?
Arya would be a bit more inclined to look in the groggiest parts, looking for that little faint bloom of lavender, actively over the sake of defending herself, frankly.
Very good. And what about yourself, Breeden?
Probably looking around, seeing if there's any like wildlife, like animals or anything, and seeing if they're dangerous or not.
Very good. In that case, let's have these in order. First and foremost, Tarek, as you begin the first leg of the journey here, pressing into the skins, I'm going to need from you a survival check using charisma as the governing modifier. As again, it is your own will which will guide you in this place.
Just to make sure I'm rolling my d20 for charisma.
Yeah, you're going to be rolling a d20 for charisma, and if you're proficient in survival, you will add an additional +3.
I have to double check. I sure as fuck am not. I
I
rolled a 16 plus 2 equals 18.
You only have a 14 charisma? I thought you had higher than that.
No, it's currently 14.
Okay, very good. As you continue to press forth into the skins here, the first leg of the journey is made without much difficulty. As you travel, keeping an eye upon the wisp glass within your, I assume you're wearing it around your neck? Or?
Yes.
Very good. Keeping an eye upon the wisp glass around your neck, pulling it out occasionally from your armor and your shirt, you find yourselves passing approximately 4 hours over the course of this journey. You can hear, once again, the croaking of wildlife all around you, the strange bubbling sounds of the swamp and the shifting sounds of the terrain, as it seems to rebuild itself for those who travel over it. Raziel, you said you were looking out for danger, yes?
Yeah.
Give me a perception check.
Perception.
As you look
Wow.
out into the landscape of the skins, the dim lights of Gloomrot fading behind you with each step, it is difficult to make out much more than the silhouetted forms of gray flora, almost looking like the jagged arms of undead. Each time you glance into the distance, you can almost swear that you see something moving, yet nothing but the rustle of dead grass, nothing but the shifting of dry branches, yet you cannot shake the feeling that you are being watched. Arya, you
I don't
said you
know.
were on the lookout for the lavender in that case?
Yep.
Go ahead and make me a nature check.
Ugh. I will use my advantage. My inspiration for advantage, rather.
With a 19, as you travel, you find many gloomy bogs, many dark pools of fetid water, which seem to briefly shine in their stillness as the wisp glass is taken out, looked at, occasionally placed back. Yet, to your dismay, you discover none of the black and purplish fronds which Zoranaxos described to you. You find it frustrating. Surely you did not miss some aspect of the instructions. No, simply you're beginning to appreciate the reason why this reagent has been difficult to come across. It is rare. During this first leg of your journey, you have no luck seeking out the Shadow Slumber lavender. Breland, for your part, looking for wildlife, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Of what nature? Anything that you can find, or is there some particular encounter within the wilderness that you're looking for?
Just more anything I can find.
Give me an animal handling check. With a natural 1, Breland, as the party is traveling, you do begin to come across what appears to be an enormous toad, too large even to fit in 2 hands. As the party's picking their way through this swampy terrain, you hear a coming out of the water next to you. You can see 2 bulging toads' eyes looking up at you. The rest of the head not visible. It seems to be staring directly toward you, Breland.
Ew.
Oh, what's food?
Ew, toad's nasty. I don't know, just want to quickly walk past them as fast as I can, because ew.
Very good. The party presses on for the rest of the day, in that case, led by Tarek's wisp glass. As the party continues through these bogs, the same one that toad was in, you can see that the pools before you are not of water, but of a murky shadow. A black miasma seeming to boil off of it, almost like tar pits, yet there is no heat, yet an insipid cold all around you as you travel through this boggy terrain. As you travel, you can feel your own body heat, you can feel your own sense of purpose seeming to seep into these pools around you. The miasma at times making it difficult not to breathe, but to remember to do so. As you travel through this miasma, you can feel a heavy sense of despair beginning to creep up around each and every one of you. How do you handle it?
Arya will feel that sense of despair. For her, it's a bit of loneliness, and a sense of being unwanted. She will gently tug at Tarek's tabard, just yank, yank, yank.
I think
Yank,
Raziel
yank,
looks-
yank, yank,
Tarek.
yank, yank.
Sorry, I didn't know that they were looking for my attention. I would, when they were seeking essentially compassion, I would look at them as a friend. I have my sword and shield out. I would put my sword away for just a second and put my hand on their shoulder and I guess not say anything because I don't want to attract attention, but like my thoughts would be, it's okay, Arya. We are here together. There is no need to be afraid right now.
Tell me you don't feel it too.
I would say that I am feeling it, but because Arya is feeling it and Tarek is like trying to lead everyone through this, he is not so much ignoring it, but so much saying, I am getting past this because I can do this for someone else.
I could say that is playing a high charisma character very well, exerting a high force of will. I commend you.
Thank you.
Very much. You can all feel this despair creeping over you. Arya seeking some comfort from Tarek. Tarek doing what he can to provide that stoic demeanor for the party. Breland, Raziel, what do you do?
I think Raziel might be a little too excited. That would just be my initial thoughts, is that the distraction of what are we actually going to find? Ooh, I wonder what it's gonna be. I wonder how big it's gonna be, or how small. I wonder how small it'll, or how much energy does that actually exude? Are we gonna be able to get close to it? Are we gonna have to be far from it? What's gonna happen? I'm so excited. I'm ready to see it.
Very wisely done, Raziel, as you can feel that sense of despair clinging to you. You do what you can to focus upon the task at hand. How resilient is your imagination? What sort of thing do you conjure up? What do you expect to find?
The thought of what it could be fluctuates a lot, but I guess the main thing that happens in my head is I'm not good with names in real life either, so I just but more or less it's like this disc, but like it rotates. You know, like and like it's rings around itself and they spin. I don't know how to explain that. That's what I think.
You begin to imagine what could have possibly fallen from the sky. A glittering silver disc, concentric rings. What sort of object is this in your mind?
So how familiar are you guys with biblically accurate angels?
Familiar.
You mean
Pretty
those things that
familiar.
haunt my nightmares that I wish were never conceptualized because they're ugly?
Well, because I'm kind of thinking the one, and it's like the rings that are spinning around each other, and then it's got like a bunch of wings on the outside, and then each ring is like lined with a bunch of eyes, and there's like eye in the center, and it like spins a lot.
Oh, then I definitely have no idea what you're talking about.
That's one. That's one of them. But that's the main one that pops into my head. I don't know why that one specifically. I guess I just have a current fascination with that one in particular.
Something kind of like this, right?
Sort of, but let me see if I can find a better picture.
I know what you're talking about well enough, but go ahead and find that picture for the rest of the party. You consider what could have fallen from the heavens. Indeed, as you fixate upon the fall, what sort of strange angelic creature, if indeed its celestial energy signature was accurately recorded by the Aerith magicians. You begin to think of angels unlike yourself, unlike those in human form, and what other strange creatures could have fallen within the Shadowfell, it fills you with a sense of perhaps dread, yes, but also deep, deep curiosity. Good fixation.
Yeah.
Breland, what about yourself? As you travel, how do you safeguard yourself against despair?
I guess Breland would start feeling despair that what if they die here and she never gets to go back home? But then she's gonna remind herself that they've always had, like, the friends that she has with her now, they've always had her back, like, in the dungeon and in other places, and so she's gonna ask Raziel if she can hold their hand.
You never have to ask. You're always free to hold my hand, except for in combat, because I don't.
Okay, then Breland's gonna grab Raziel's hand and just, like, let that be a reminder that her friends always have her back and that they'll be able to survive this and make it through together.
Very good. I need everyone here to make me a wisdom saving throw as you travel through the pools of despair. Tarek, I'm going to need you to make that wisdom saving throw at disadvantage. Everyone else is going to make that wisdom saving throw at advantage, thanks to Tarek doing what he can to take on the burden and the duty of remaining stoic here.
Holy shit.
Man.
My first roll was literally a natural 20. Oh my god.
Do it again.
That's an 18! Oh my god, 18 plus 3 is 21!
Very, very nice. So, Breland, Raziel, unnecessary for the both of you in this case. However, you would each gain an additional +2 thanks to the bond that you're sharing in this moment as you travel together. Arya, you're unsure whether it's simply the effects of the miasma or whether it's the effects of the dream that you had, yet you cannot shake it. That image of your own body within the empty coffin continues to assail you. And as you travel through this thick miasma, your body growing colder and colder amongst these pools, you cannot help but begin to think of it as a prophecy. Arya, you're going to suffer disadvantage on saving throws and skill checks while you are moving through the next 4 hours of this journey.
Oof.
You see Arya shrinking, both emotionally, verbally, and physically. You know her. She's kind of smarmy and annoying, not really annoying, but constantly testy and very much willing to let her voice be heard. But now she's just wanting to hide. That brief moment of comfort was only just that brief, as she recludes to those dark thoughts within, always present.
Raziel, does Raziel notice this? Can Raziel notice this?
It's up to you guys.
Okay. Raziel notices this and holds out a hand to Arya and says, "Come on."
Oh, we're all holding each other's hands. Sorry.
You can see that that Arya's not really looking at you, looking only towards you.
Raziel is just gonna go ahead and like grab Arya's hand and be like, "Come on."
I'm gonna die alone, aren't I?
Oh, you're gonna die with all three of us, possibly.
That's not making things feel any better.
No, it's fine because
I'm
that
going
means
to look behind and look at Arya, and I'm going to come close to her ear and I'm going to say, remember that you go with the blessing of the Church of Shar. Let that give you your strength.
Char's blessing is loss. It is lost that I am suffering from. A loss of safety. A loss of peace.
No.
If
You
this
got
is a
all of us
blessing,
here.
I don't want it.
And I'm going to whisper back to them and say, it is hard, but you've gone through this before. You'll get through it again, and we are here.
You
I'm gonna
just hear
start
Arya
crying.
just
Okay, not
muttering.
be okay.
You hear Arya muttering under her breath, just as a very, very much the glooming, black shadowed goth girl right now. They're going to say, the sooner we get out of here, the better.
You're right, yes. Yes, sorry, I was about to over-explain myself.
This conversation
Arya.
is gonna make me cry in real life.
Oh.
Arya, pay
sorry.
attention. Arya, pay attention to me, or I'll drool all over your hand.
Ew.
I'm going to roll a perception check at disadvantage to see if I can understand what you're... Actually, no, insight check at disadvantage. What's your charisma modifier?
Poo-poo. -1.
Billy?
Yeah, it's an 8.
Mine's also -1.
As long as it doesn't get on the mark, that's okay.
Very good.
I guess Raziel will just drool on Arya's hand, and now they both have drool on their hand.
Breland's just gonna look over with disgust and just think to herself, that's so gross. I really hope that doesn't happen to me.
Well, you're paying lots of attention. So,
The party presses forth, past the pools of despair. Tarek, do you continue to lead the charge?
At the moment, yes.
Very good. Any other activities during the walk? Any other conversations during the next 4 hours of our journey? Or does it pass in companionable silence?
I'm gonna look back and ask if anyone feels like they need tea or food.
I need a hug.
I'll give you a hug.
3-way hug. Woohoo!
As you each take a moment here to embrace one another, someone give me the random encounter die.
I'll get it.
Is that the 12?
Mm-hmm.
Watch as we get killed from a hug.
With a 10 here. As you begin the next leg of the first day's journey, you encounter no wildlife, no challenges other than the occasional bird flapping from a nearby tree, other than the occasional rustle within the undergrowth as some small creature bolts away from you, yet the wildlife within the Shadow Wilds, as attuned to survival as you might expect such creatures to be, you encounter very little in the way of difficulty as you continue to press forth. Tarek, give me another survival check using charisma as the modifier.
I rolled a 16. Plus 2 is 18. Holy
18.
God.
That's another 18.
Yes.
Very good.
Why are you good on RP moments when I'm fighting you're awful? What's wrong with you?
You need some new dice.
Hey man, the RP moments are the most important ones. Trust me. As you
Until you're
continue-
dying!
As you continue forth, Tarek, the sense of purpose burns as brightly within you as ever, and despite the fact that the landmarks here are unfamiliar, you forge on undeterred. As the party continues to press forth, you find yourself beginning to move through a wind-swept forest of hollow trees. As you begin to walk, you can begin to feel yourselves short of breath. With a sudden realization, you understand why this is. From the forest of dead branches around you, you can see the hollows within the trunks. At first, looking like owls' nests, or the places that woodland creatures may hide, yet upon closer inspection you realize that they look like mouths around you, some whispering, some screaming, some wide open in fright or rage, and from each and one of them a quiet whispering sound, as well as a faint silver gas leaking into the atmosphere that you travel. As you move, you can begin to feel yourselves growing short of breath. How do you address this?
Am I still in my disadvantage mode for my gloomy sadness?
You are, indeed. As you feel yourself growing short of breath, the purpose of even breathing seems to become lost to you.
Oh gosh, this is so
Wait,
sad.
this is like gas or something that's making it hard to breathe?
A thin silver miasma that is coming out of the hollows of the nearby trees, each of which look like open mouths.
Is it only like higher up in the air, or is it the entire like from the ground up?
It is a heavy gas suffusing the atmosphere, much in the same way that mist attempts to cling to the ground.
Damn.
Yeah, I was also gonna ask if maybe getting closer to the ground would help.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I guess not.
I guess. Can I invest? No. Yeah. Yeah. Can I investigate the silver miasma? And I also want to see if I can do some breathing exercises while I do this.
You may. How and to what end would you like to investigate it?
I want to see if I can figure out what exactly it is doing. Like, what is there a way to prevent it from coming out? Is it like something that I can see that there's some way to... I guess my first thought is look at the source, see what's there, and then make the decision from there. Because if it is something I could maybe lock up, then that could help. If it's something that just requires us to maybe hastily move forward, or if it's something where we can just sort of... I don't know yet. Just any of those things.
Give me a nature check or an investigation check.
Well, they're gonna end up the exact same regardless.
With a natural
Love it.
one, it seems almost as though the mist seems to appear from the hollows of the trees themselves. As you move closer to some of them, attempting to gain a better purview, you can hear a low groaning seeming to come from the wood of the trees themselves. You're unsure whether it's the whistling of the night breeze through these flora, or whether it is something emanating from the hearts of the trees themselves. It's confusing, though. You cannot see any other source of the silver mist than these plants. How are the rest of us coping with this?
Leandrin, gosh, Ariadne,
Hi.
wrong character. Arya will be falling back to a safe space. They will start singing the hymns that she learned in her, I guess, indoctrination to Shar's practices. They require her to breathe normally, at least consciously put thought into taking a breath before a certain line. She'll use that as her method to have an excuse for breathing.
Very good. How else, guys? Tarek? Breitland?
I'm gonna need a moment because I'm still looking through all my things.
Take your time.
Yeah,
I would
I'm
also
trying to
like
come
to
up with
be-
something.
I would like to also be doing breathing exercises.
Very good. What kind? Motivated by what? Learned where?
So you know how like when you're asthmatic and then you have to like kind of slow down like your pace and your movement and then kind of consciously think about your breathing and how deep you are or are not breathing, and then that whole thing.
Very good.
Do I need to make any checks for that?
As soon as we have Tarek and Breland's contributions, if any, to this wilderness hazard.
I do have a quick question. While we're doing this traversal stuff, are we going to be resting at all in between, or if we use it, it's done until we leave this dungeon?
You will almost necessarily rest en route to your destination, as you know it's a journey of multiple days.
Okay. Sorry, I'm looking at my spells. There's a level 2 paladin spell called Protection from Poison that I was thinking I would use on myself in this situation.
Very good. If you wish to do so, as you cast the incantation, you can feel the miasma within the air around you, still affecting your breathing, yet you can feel your own breath purified slightly by the incantation.
With that, I would remind myself that I need to take as big a, not as like big or deep, but as good of a breath as I can at a consistent pace.
Very good. So the party presses forth here. Breland, anything from yourself?
I have no idea what I can do.
You got this, girl.
Think of anything.
You could do druid shit.
I was trying to think of like, well, what if I wild shape into something that doesn't need to breathe as much or something? But yeah, that's
You know
not gonna
what?
help.
Frogs breathe through moisture in the water.
Oh, I could turn into a frog.
Groundhogs can also dig underground. Or, yeah, I think it was groundhogs.
I don't know if that's even a thing on here.
There is an animal with a dig speed. I don't remember what it is. I think it's a groundhog.
A badger. I think you're probably thinking of the badger stat block.
Is it?
Probably, as a low-level burrowing creature.
Yeah. I just remember a burrowing creature that is available to low level.
Oh, there's a badger and there's a giant badger.
What would you like to do, Breland?
I mean, I guess I'll wild shape into a badger and try to go underground and start heading that way so I don't have to deal with the air.
Very fairly said. Those of you who are attempting breathing exercises en route, first and foremost, give me a wisdom or constitution check. For you, Arya, since you are singing hymns, you may make a religion check instead if you wish.
Do I get any advantage because I blessed myself?
You do, actually not on the check, no. That's going to be for the save that will be made momentarily.
There we go. And
I'm rolling for Constitution. It is a 7 plus 2 equals 9.
Very good. So, those of you attempting breathing exercises passing a DC 15 check, which looks like just Raziel here, you're going to have a +2 circumstance bonus to the Constitution save that I'm going to ask each of you to make now. As you continue through the miasma here, Tarek, you do have advantage on this Constitution save. Our Badger friend also has advantage on this Constitution save, only occasionally popping up in order to make sure that she is still traveling with her friends.
I rolled a 12 and then a 19 plus 2, so it's 21.
Oh, another one.
Tarek's
I can just
pass.
imagine. Sorry.
Oh, go on.
Traveling with one of your friends that just randomly turns into a badger and then goes underground and they're just standing there like, okay. That was weird.
Well, I'll talk to you in a minute, right? Okay. It's like when you're on a road trip with a friend and they fall asleep. So, With a 6 on
Uh.
Constitution, go on.
It's so bad.
A 6 and a 2 here from Arya and from Raziel, respectively. You said 18, Tarek?
19 plus 2 is 21.
Absolute success. So,
Jeez.
as Raziel and as Arya continue to travel, it becomes too much. The thick silver mist around you begins to overwhelm you. As you stumble slightly, Arya, your head growing foggy. Raziel, similarly, you find yourselves brushing against one of these hollow-mouthed trees. As you do so, almost like someone breathing into your ear, there is a sudden explosive pulse of that same shadowy miasma that has been creeping about you. As that happens, Raziel, Arya, you begin to choke, coughing and sputtering. You can feel your airways beginning to close up. Both of them are choking. Breland, Tarek,
Can I?
as you turn to them, one more time.
I'm sorry. Can I punch at the tree that seems to spit in front of me?
Yeah, go ahead and roll the hit.
So choking. I cannot attempt any verbal spell casting.
You're choking. You are incapable of speech. You are incapable of breathing. You are incapable of spells with verbal components for the moment. Yet your companions can hear you beginning to choke. Tarek, Breland, you can see Raziel and Arya both sitting at the base of this tree, clutching at their throats as breath will not come.
You know, honestly, my first thought is this silvery miasma must be heavier than the air above. So what if I just like put Arya on my shoulders where she's higher than everyone else and then she can breathe again?
Give it a shot. Make me an athletics check as you go and grab Arya here.
I'm gonna.
Oh, I have good on athletics. Oh boy, give me a good roll, please. 8 plus 5 is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
13, enough to lift Arya on your shoulders a bit unsteadily, yet the height does give some benefit here. You can see Raziel choking as well. They're going to need to make their next constitution saves here momentarily. As you claw at the tree in front of you in a momentary burst of rage, you rip through the trunk and branches. You're taking the rage action here as well?
Yes, I sure am.
Very good. As your claws erupt in front of it, Raziel, as you claw through the tree, toppling it very nearly with a single strike with the critical blow, you see more of the same silvery miasma begin to erupt from it, with a groaning sound from the toppling wood. Breland, you can see your friend Raziel here still caught within this miasma, choking them. Do you have any intervention?
I mean, I could attempt to do the same with Raziel as Tarek did with Arya, but I'm not sure if I'd be able to.
Would you like to try and lift Raziel onto your shoulders?
Sure.
Go ahead and make me an athletics check.
Oof.
With a 7, as you attempt to lift the well-built angel onto your shoulders, you get her about halfway up, both of you toppling, spinning into the mire here. I'm going to need an additional constitution save at advantage from Arya and a straight roll from Raziel here.
So that puts me at normal roll then, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll put you the normal roll.
Oh.
With a 20 and a 23, whether it is the simple rage of your bestial body or whether it is the assistance granted to you by your fellow adventurer here, both of you manage to catch your breath moments before unconsciousness threatens to claim you. You manage to press your way out of this thick wood, the shadowy miasma beginning to grow sparse behind you.
Little F trees.
I'm going to be slowly putting Arya off of my shoulders, and I'm going to sit her down on the ground. And I'm going to kneel over her, and I'm going to offer her a little bit of my water.
I just realized I tried to pick Raziel up as a badger.
You sure did. That's why it failed.
Like, I assume you like unwild shaped from Badger first, but
I didn't think about it, so I was like, wait a second.
I mean, if you've ever seen badgers, those guys are like super ballsy. They'll try anything.
that's true.
I mean, I also could have wild shaped into a giant badger, but I don't know how big that is, so who knows?
It's okay. We'll just pretend that it didn't work because you forgot.
I'm just this giant, teeny, tiny badger, like, huh.
No thought. Energy.
Just no thought, just lift.
Yup.
Seems like
Surely-
something Breland would do. Sorry.
No worries. After Arya would catch her breath briefly, it's like, surely the active breathing hasn't been taken away from me, Shar. Have I
Negative talk out and drink
offended
some
you
of this damn
so
water.
much?
I'm gonna pinch Arya's hand to try to get her to stop thinking of that and to pay attention to what I need her to do right now. Just drink this goddamn water.
I mean, I could always choke in real life again, and so I can do like some actual coughing for you.
Please no.
I'm actually suppressing a mild cough, but it's not that bad.
The party takes.
But anyways, Arya will take the water and just like drink it, and then just still kind of in that coughing, choking fit. They get some of it down and just like. This must be a test. This must be a test.
One night
Whatever.
will last. You've got this.
I imagine Raziel is probably maybe slowly returning back to not rage form. If that makes sense.
Can I still be a badger?
Certainly, as you continue this leg of the journey as the Badger, as the party presses through the shadowy miasma here, eventually your breathing normalizes yet again. Tarek, as you continue to lead the party forward, as you gaze at the wisp glass intermittently, you can tell that 8 hours' journey has passed, something echoed by the own weariness within your limbs, something echoed by the own exhaustion within your thoughts. Someone roll me a d12.
I rolled the last one.
Gotta remember which one of my D12 it.
Very good. With a 1 on the encounter die, the party presses forth. You can begin to tell that you've reached the end of what would normally be considered a day's travel. 8 hours of solid trekking. If you wish to press on, you may certainly do so, though it will be at the risk of jeopardizing your own energy levels. What does the party wish to do here?
Me keeping track of the hourglass, I would look to everyone and say, we've been traveling for about 8 hours. Now we should rest. We will need to maintain our strength and our resolve.
Sounds like a good idea. You'll hear no complaints from Raz.
All right. Is Arya still in her Depresso mode right now?
At this point, no. The 4 hours has elapsed.
Oh,
The
thank
sense of
God.
despair has lifted from you.
Arya will look towards Tarek and say, I need about 10 minutes then. And she's going to bring out the Sacred Malvine paint, get a small dollop of it within 2 fingers, and say, I need to prepare us a shelter.
By all means.
Oh, you can make a magic house?
It's not really a magic house. And she starts with the perfect circle of Shar and starts writing in the rune script of it and going into a trance-like ritualistic state. She doesn't even answer your question. She's like, not quite. And just you hear her humming some hymns. Just, oh Shar, the night is your domain. Our solace and joy, our comfort and pain. And she continues as she starts to ritual cast a spell.
Very good. As the sounds and the scents of ritual casting, incense burning into the night, incantations to the mother goddess echoing over the dark bogs. Give me a random encounter die.
I'll get this one. Unless someone else wants to.
Which die do I roll?
The 1d12, the one that kind of looks like a d20, but it's not.
Just goes up to 12? Okay. I rolled a 3.
Very good. After 10 minutes, the ritual elapses, and what do we see before the party?
You see, as Arya finishes that last runic word, she says, "Inoctim," and she gently, very, very gently, places her hand in the center of that circle, pressing it down as if it was a button, and then just this small little burst comes forth as a purplish lavender dome of pure force energy surrounds the party, giving them a sense of comfort from the outside world. They can still see outside, but it's like a force barrier, to which Arya will explain, "This is a new teaching I was given after my resurrection. This should keep us safe for a resting period. It's still wise to take watch, but... and this is very obviously a supernatural event. Someone will certainly be able to tell that there's magic here. But nothing can harm us as long as we are within. As long as whatever is watching does not cancel out magic."
Man, I was hoping you would suddenly magic like a little house. But I guess a bubble is fine.
Sorry, I do not have the capacity to literally make a house from nothing. I figured having this dome of this sanctuary would be sufficient. You know, we can breathe easier. We can rest knowing that we have some semblance of safety. If you'd prefer, I'd save the materials and the time for the next time we rest, then, Miss Raziel.
I was just expecting a house. I don't know the extents of magic.
Well, this is sort of a house. It is Shah's sacred domain.
It's a bubble.
Exactly. It is my bubble, and you're welcome to stay in it.
I appreciate that, but it is a bubble.
All right. I'll take the first watch. You all rest up.
I would like to cast Protection from Evil and Good on Arya since she's taking the first watch. I imagine we can get this back anyways because I'm about to go to sleep.
Are we taking a long rest or a short rest?
Long.
How long is a long rest?
8 hours. This spell, she'll say, this spell will provide us the necessary time we need to rest. So prepare your bedrolls, pitch up your tents. Tarek, I'm cooking dinner this time. You burnt the rabbit.
You just don't appreciate my cooking.
I appreciate your cooking when it's edible.
I'm gonna set up my 2-person tent.
You should have
And-
seen it at the Sacred Convergence. Fucking hell, I can't remember what it was called.
Convergence.
Sanctioned Convergence. At the Sanctioned Convergence, there was this interesting dish that they had prepared. Something called goat meal. They actually had little bits of tenderized goat meat inside of a porridge. It sounds rather atrocious, but it's quite delectable. Chewy,
Disgusting.
but delectable.
I'm never living down the goat meal.
Freeland is a vegetarian and doesn't eat meat.
So, as the party begins their preparations for rest here, the bubble, as we call it, summoned. Tarek having cast in protection from good and evil. Anything else?
Eric's seeing everyone like apparently get all close together, and he's gonna be all solitude and lay his bedroll out with no tent, just away from everyone because even though he's the leader, he feels like he's not sure if he belongs.
We can
Arya
all
will literally spare him a bed, her bedroll, so that he can have a pillow or something.
I have a bedroll, I just don't have a tent.
Well, I don't have a tent either, but
I guess.
all cuddle in my 2-person tent.
you'll cuddle in a 2-person
I-
tent.
Will
Yeah.
volunteer to take the second watch because I can finish a long rest in 4 hours.
Very nice. Breland taking the second watch here. What else?
Again, Raz is going to just also sleep
Very good.
for the 8 hours, and anyone who wants to be in my tent with me is free to. It's a big tent.
So are you setting up the tent outside of the protective bubble, as it is a
Oh
20-foot
no,
radius?
in the bubble.
Got
In the
you.
bubble.
Got you. So
So this bubble is 10-foot radius, so that's a 20-foot circumference
diameter, yeah.
diameter. Excuse me. So it could kind of technically fit. How
Yeah.
tall is?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's just like half the floor space is taken up by the 2-person tent inside the bubble, then the other half taken up by Arya and Tarek's bedrolls.
I said you can join. We can all pile up in the 2-person tent. It doesn't necessarily have to be just 2 people. It's never stopped me before.
Arya's going to look at the scene and just nudge Tarek. Wouldn't a tent be more comfortable than the floor?
Eric's gonna look back to where he's laid down, and he's gonna say, "I'd rather sleep here."
Very well, Tarek. And-
Breland is gonna walk over and sit next to Tarek, and she just does a trance instead of sleeping. So she's like, I'm just gonna sit over here with you so you don't feel alone.
So no one wants to join Raziel in their big tent.
Well, Arya's keeping watch. She can't stay in the tent. She is going to start humming a small, kind of whisper singing a small hymn as the others are taking their rest. You know, just like, in shadows deep our hearts conceal, beneath the night our spirits kneel. And I'm not going to go through all of that because, I can only sing so much.
I'm going to notice the badger coming up to lay next to me, and I'm just gonna put my cloak over it so it's warm.
Aww.
Very good.
Yep, that's it.
As night begins to pass, an hour or so later, the badger's form poofing back into Breland's comfortably beneath the cloak. Arya, the watches of the night pass slowly here within the Shadowfell. I assume Tarek's wisp glass, having probably been set here in the middle of the tiny hut in order to provide some idea of the time's passage. As you do so,
Yes.
go ahead and roll me a d12, Arya. The first 2 hours of the night pass uninterrupted. Any activities, any meditations during those 2 hours that you spend alone?
She will have a moment of reflection, just speaking with Shar quietly. My memories return. My will is weak. Is it my strength that you've stripped from me? Or is it my own weakness and will? Help me understand this. Give me peace.
Go
Oh,
ahead
go
and
ahead.
make a religion check. With a 23, as you sit, as you listen, you've heard it said before that when the Mother Goddess first conjured this plane into being, it was nothing but darkness. Flora, fauna, human ambitions, all of these came after. Came as this place was colonized by other consciousnesses, other gods, stripping away bit by bit the Mother Goddess's own being. Yet, here, within the deepest darknesses of the Shadow Wilds, the songs of the night birds, the shifting of the wind through the grass, it begins to seem true to you. As you find yourself swaddled within the goddess's embrace, it was taken from you? No, child. It was something you gave willingly. The only weakness is that you seek it returned. The only weakness in yourself is that you do not trust your own decisions. The words seem to come in Malenfel's voice, yet she is the entity that you have known closest to the goddess.
Interesting. It's a moment of interesting reflection, and she'll think very hard on that statement.
Arya, do you wake Reelan for the second watch?
She'll she'll take a quick glance at the thing and guess that 2 hours has passed, and just very lightly nudge Breland.
I'm awake.
Oh, okay. It's your turn to take watch. I'm gonna go snuggle up to that one. Glancing over at Raziel. Because a tent is more comfortable than the floor.
Enjoy the sleep.
And Arya will kind of just walk on over. She'll doff her leather armor, leaving only her black and purple garments. She'll make herself comfortable, leaving her boots outside the tent. And just get close, but not uncomfortably close to Raziel, as they just lay their head down, just like, that's what I would not do to have a bit of trance like you. You at least stay conscious. I have nothing but my subconscious dreams to entertain me while I... And she falls asleep.
Fuck, you just made me yawn too.
Sorry.
Breelan, as you begin to pass the hours of the night yourself, any activities, any thoughts over the course of your watch?
I guess she's just gonna think a lot about home and how she misses, like, I guess, family from there, and like thinking about everything that they've been through, her and her friends now that they've been through since she's been here.
You let your consciousness drift back to the sunny plains of the Feywild. Your family's faces dancing before your memory. At times replaced by the faces of your companions, the weeks that you have been here begin to feel like months, like years. The sapping nature of the Shadowfell seeming to draw those memories from you as you struggle to maintain them. Your family's faces seeming to grow vague before you, yet tell me, can you remember just one? Who they were, what they were like? One person that you attempt to return to?
Breeland's sister? Little sister?
Your little sister. What was her name? Do you have a fond memory of her? Your time spent in the Feywild together?
Her name is Ava, and her fondest memory is probably teaching her younger sister how to like track animals in the woods and like teaching her about the forest and how to survive.
You remember moving through the Feywild with her. Your own laughter barely suppressed as she attempted to keep up, her own laughter coming through in peals like the ringing of bells. As you reminded her, you can only find a unicorn that wants to be found. It's about purity of heart. They can read your emotions, you know? The two of you danced through the forest for what felt like hours, although time is difficult to measure in the Feywild as it is the Shadowfell. You never did find your quarry together, yet the time you spent in the woods together, one of your favorite memories. You remember returning to your family, exhausted yourself, your sister asleep on your back as you carried her. The memory serves you well. The hours of the night pass swiftly. Go ahead and roll me a d12. Breland, you can begin to hear the sounds of thunder rolling in the distance, and after another hour or so, rain begins to patter down softly upon the dome of the spell above you. You can feel sleepiness beginning to overtake you. You know that it's time for someone else's watch. The final 2 hours of the night, Breland having been able to serve for 4 of them.
I'm gonna go poke Tarek.
Eric's gonna. Well, how are you gonna wake Tarek up?
I'm gonna, like, I did guess, grab your shoulder and, like, kind of shake you, like, wake up!
I'm gonna wake up like, what the fuck is going? What?
I'm falling asleep. I need somebody to take over watching the cave. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
Oh, sorry. Yes, of course. I'm gonna get up and, in part of my preparation, I'm going to, what's it called? Is it a cast, or do I just, like, use Divine Sense?
Divine Sense is used, but it's not something that can be used beyond total cover. So, given the nature of the dome that you're currently in, you'd pretty much just be Divine Sensing your group, or anything in here with them.
So even though it's inside, because I was reading his thing, it's transparent, it's still considered cover?
Yeah, it's still considered a mobile dome of force, right? So if you were if like an enemy were to try to walk through it, it's still an impermeable dome of force. So for that reason, it is considered to be total cover.
You're behind glass.
Effectively.
You are the exhibit now.
Bulletproof glass.
Wow. I'm going to file a complaint. I'm going to cast Protection of Evil and Good on myself.
Very good.
Yeah.
Tarek, as once again the frosty sigils begin to glow upon your armor, as you can hear Breland's own breathing grow steady within the trance. Any activities? Any thoughts as you pass the hours of the night?
I guess in this one moment, my thoughts would kind of wonder, kind of feeding off of Arya's own curiosity of what she had lost. I would kind of wonder, who was I before? Why did I seek out obliteration, kind of thing?
Tarek, you have pursued those memories in the past. They have always ended in blood and fire, in your recollections of them. I think most recently, as you sought out the moment that you were consecrated to the Raven Queen, you remembered yourself as a child. You remember the scarification of your own flesh at the hand of some silver-masked elder. That's the last memory that you had of this, yes?
believe so, yes. My notes are on another computer.
What is it you seek out this time? You have had your mission given to you in Revelation within the Deathless Graves to live and to kill and to serve in that way. What is it you go looking for?
I think the question in my thought would be, why is the thought there that it's just to needlessly or mindlessly kill, and where does that sense lie? Because in my newfound brain from obliteration, I'd be more logical in thinking when I'd want to kill someone, or not so much one, but when I'd have to. There's much more a sense of honor and duty, if that makes sense.
I'm gonna need two things from you here. And I'm
I
gonna
can only
let
give
you know how you want to do them. You can either give me a religion check at advantage, and then a wisdom save at disadvantage, or you can give me a religion check at disadvantage, and you can make the wisdom save at advantage. Depending on how determined, how reckless you are in the pursuit of your own obliterated memories here.
I think I'm going to put my advantage on the wisdom, and I'll take the disadvantage on the religion, because with the religion I at least have a proficiency bonus.
Go ahead and give me the religion check at disadvantage here. As you
Can I interject really quick, Tarek?
Sure.
You do have the advantage, inspiration point that you might be able to take advantage of.
You're not wrong. Yeah, Ben, would you allow me to use advantage on the religion check just to make it a straight roll?
Of course, yeah, if that's what you wish to do. Go for it.
That is what I would wish to do, and I'm going to click it off my sheet before I forget. There we go. Okay, so just rolling a religion check. It didn't help me any. 2 + 3 = 5.
2 + 3 = 5. Tarek, as you search your memory, all you find is blood and fire. Blood and fire. No purpose. Flashes of battle, from mountaintops to valley streams to city streets. You can remember your own blade gripped tight within your hand, the smell of blood, and the scent of flame, of ash and vapor, and dissolution of lives. Yet none of these visions of battle which flash before you bear any meaning other than to torment you. You cannot pick out anything valuable from them, no more than you have done so far. Go ahead and give me the wisdom save with advantage.
It's 10.
With advantage, total 10?
Yeah, the first roll was a 1, so this is better.
Got you. With a total of 10 here, Tarek. As you continue to hearken back to it, you remember the silver visage, the infinite form of raven feathers that visited you when you fell in the deathless graves. You continue to return to that image to try to make some sense of it. Tarek, no sense comes here in the night. Go ahead and roll me a d12.
Oop, fuck. I rolled a 12.
With a 12, Tarek, no sense comes from you. No progress is gained. Yet a horrible fixation begins to steal over you here in the night. The reason that no progress has been gained, the reason that nothing has been understood, is that you have not killed enough, nor recklessly enough. Tarek, madness begins to steal over you in the night. Your own meditations conclude as you stand and draw your blade, looking toward the sleeping forms of your companions. Briefly, you remember Willowswitch's admonition. It's dangerous to go pulling on those threads. And I think that we'll pick back up here next week.
Delicious.
Tarek is gonna kill us all.
Hey, I have old person. There's a chance that we don't die terribly.
Well,
It's
this is
okay.
not good to turn out.
Don't worry, you have a beast right here with you.
Nope, it's too late. I'm already worrying.
I mean, I don't have any diamonds, but I do technically have a Revivify prepared.
Don't worry, Arya did the smart thing and decided to sleep in the arms of the beast.
Ooh la la. Well,
I felt.
Tale as old as time.
sorry, what'd you say? What'd you say, Panda?
Arya and Raziel.
I felt like if Breland would have slept in there with Raziel, then it wouldn't have just been sleeping.
That's not true.
No, I mean, like, the way she would have tried, because the way she was with Sebastian, she would probably try.
Ah, Raz to sleep for that. Deep sleep.
I can just imagine just like Breland trying, like, hey, the others are sleeping.
And then Raziel just falls asleep.
And it's just like, oh.
The others are sleeping. They won't know. And
You
they
know
just hear snoring.
You know what's funny, Ben?
Mm-hmm. What's that?
I have my paladin with his sword in hand approaching the sleeping forms of the party. Yet I don't feel nervous at all for the next coming session. Unlike it is with Fangang and like how it is with Neverwinter Cold. I don't know why, but I am not nervous. It's like, okay, if this is how I die, that's it.
You guys are doing fine. Don't worry about it too much.
You're gonna be fine.
Not terribly worried about it. I will ask you though. I know I asked this to you in the office hours a little while ago, but in regards to preparing spells, I plan to just like saying, "Hey, I'm unpreparing this, and I'm putting this in." That way, I'm just removing a spell from my sheet, and I'm putting in a spell into my sheet. Would you rather me have every spell there and just put a dot in the thing saying that one's prepared?
For you. You know, it's your sheet as long as you keep track of your prepared spells. I'm not too worried about how you do it.
I ask because it is one of those things that figured it would be good to know. I could just put the preparation on the spells that I have that come with my beautiful subclass. That's broken as fuck.
It's a fun class to play. Personally, I like to keep all my spells in the book and then just prepare them as necessary because I find myself frequently not thinking of my options during long rests unless they're there in front of me. But again, it's totally up to you how you prefer to do that.
Well, I'm definitely thinking about options. I don't think Guiding Bolt and Healing Word are ever going to leave my level 1 spell slots because they're too damn good of a spell. It's all these other things that get me thinking about how to best prepare spells, yada, yada, yada. If this character makes it to level 10, I kind of want to see what a Divine Intervention's going to look like if I can make it happen.
It's always the most fun moment as a cleric. There's no doubt about that.
So, I need to ask you a question on the mechanics of that front. So, Divine Intervention basically says I roll a percentile die, and if I roll like a 10, then if I'm level 10, then the god intervenes.
More or less, yeah.
Would that be 10 or 90 or just 10?
It's 10. Yeah, so you roll you roll a percentile die. So if the first number, if you roll the first number is like, if the first number you roll is a... God, my brain's shutting down. Okay, ask me about it tomorrow if you would. It's getting late.
Wait,
I mean,
so
I think
it's
I get the general idea of how it works. It's basically as long as whatever my cleric level is, if I roll a number that's equal to or lower than it, then the deity intervenes.
Right.
I just want to see it. I want to see what happens when Char says, "You're not dying tonight."
Well, we will
I'm-
see if and when that happens. Sorry, Raziel.
I don't know why I thought that was a 20 and not like a percent. That means you only have a 20% chance total ever to get
I
an
have a 10. I have an up to 19% chance between levels 10 and 19, and at level 20, I get it.
Okay.
You just go, hey, God, we're besties, right?
Char,
Such a
I
weird-
have been your vessel for decades. Hear my call and undo my enemies.
Vessel or vassal?
Both. But if anyone else has any questions, I'm happy to answer them real quick. Any comments, I'm happy to hear them. Otherwise, I'm going to return to my leisures for the evening.
I will definitely say this was good. The role playing was fantastic. I think everyone's getting a bit more cozy. The pacing got a bit slow with Everfisser, but that's okay. You know, it was nice to see him. I was thinking, oh crap, we're gonna have to fight somebody, and as soon as you started talking about the birds, like the medicine mask thing, like, oh, that's Everfisser, and sure enough, it was. Overall, I had good vibes from this session. I will make a quick question though to the party. When Arya hit despair, I kind of got all depresso, gloomy Arya, even more so than she already is. I apologize if that hurt. I know. Breland said that you were about to cry in real life. Do I need to pull back on stuff like that?
No. It's just because I was depressed today, and everyone was like, "I'll be here for you, and I'll hold your hand," and I'm like, "I'm gonna cry."
I have a question.
It was just sweet.
What's up, Raz?
I'm glad we cheered you up. Does Arya have anything to say after her depressive episode about the slobber on her hand?
She actually would have wiped it off on you while you were sleeping.
Several hours after the fact. 8 hours after the fact, actually.
I'm sure
it would've
so we were 4 hours into our journey, right? And that's when Arya got depresso mode. So she dealt with it for 4 hours. Well, she didn't really deal with it. She forgot it existed for 4 hours, and then she was like, "Oh, gross."
It sure did dry onto your hand.
So you got dried saliva flakes all over you when you wake up now.
It's okay. Part of my morning ablutions are a purification ritual that involves washing the body. So, ha ha ha.
Yeah, you know, in the bogs out here.
You know, with all the clean, not shadow goop water.
I can actually create water as a cleric. I can just say in the first day and the first hour of waking up, I'm going to prepare the spell, create food and water. I can create water and just boom, water.
Oh,
Enough
big
to-
sippy?
What?
Big sippy.
Yep. That's one of the spells I don't think has gotten any use of, but it's there. Question for Ben.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still torn between it. I'm not gonna do it for Arya because I'm already doing the Twilight thing. But do you think Trickery would have been a better domain than Twilight?
I don't really know, honestly. I'll be honest. I'm too tired to entertain hypotheticals like that right now. I got no brain left for the night, guys.
Understandable.
Very good. I will let you go then, and I will converse with my teammates for a little bit, unless we're all going to sleep, because it's like 2:30 for you, it's 1:30 for me.
But yeah, I just want to make sure, Breland, Tarek, you guys good? No questions, no comments?
I'm good.
Got nothing.
All right, then have a lovely night, everyone. You know, I'll be around all week if you need anything. Just shoot me a message and I'll get back to you. Be safe. Love you
Absolutely.
all. See you next Monday.